Good afternoon to our friends on the East Coast, and good morning to our friends on the West Coast. We will be kicking off today's webinar in just a couple minutes here. As you make your way in, we do want to let everyone know a couple things. We will be recording today's webinar, and we will be sending it out to all attendees. And we also do have a Q&A available here, so feel free as we're going through today's webinar to put any questions in there, and we'll be sure we circle back there on the back end. We'll take a moment here and let folks make their way in. We'll get started in just a minute. All right. Thank you again all for joining today's webinar, Supercharging Marketing Strategies to Skyrocket Firm Growth with Wealthbox and FMG. My name's Andrew Ladwig. I'm Director of Business Development here at Wealthbox. I work with all of our custodial partners, broker-dealer partners, as well as our integration partners. And today I am really excited to be joined by Elise Lambert with FMG. Elise, we'd love to hear a little bit of your background before we kick things off here.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you. Delighted to be here. Been with FMG for a long time, and I started as an advisor. I started then as an advisor, going to marketing director. I worked kind of boots on the ground, as well as home office level. So I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to look for best in class when it comes to CRM, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to practice management, whatever it might be. And now here at FMG, where I work kind of very similar capacity as Andrew, just on the FMG side, and excited to share. I always say, unfortunately, this is something I'm really passionate about, is like best in practice and how to keep everything easy and efficient and do so in a very easy way, because advisors wear so many different hats. And so how can we give them time back in their day and keep everyone hip, right?
Yep. And things have changed quite a bit. And, on that thought, Elise, as we kick things off today, one of the questions that we hear quite a bit in the industry is differentiation and how firms are doing so. Can you speak to a little bit to some of your experience, not only in your previous roles as an advisor, but with what you all do at FMG now and how that differentiation ends up happening?
Absolutely. It's like you can throw a rock and find a financial advisor, but how does one allow them to set themselves apart in this world? And how are they able to differentiate themselves? And a lot of it is providing a world-class customer experience. But nowadays, where that starts is truly online or with that digital footprint. So how can we provide the best possible service and create value for our clients and prospects is really what it comes down to.
Right. Simply calling yourself a fiduciary financial planner, while there is value there, it has definitely changed especially over the past few years. So today we're going to be going over 5 specific marketing strategies that advisors should be using to win new business and to scale their practice. The first one is really starting with the website and how do you actually drive traffic? I'm intrigued by this idea of 50 milliseconds. Elise, what is that really speaking to?
Yeah. So when someone goes to your website, or we do this all the time, think about when you're trying to figure out where to go for dinner on a Friday night and you're trying to find a restaurant and maybe it's a new one in town or one that you've been meaning to try. First thing you do is you go to their website, and within 50 milliseconds, we're making a decision, whether we think this is credible, whether we think the food might look good based on their pictures, whether we can find it, we can make a reservation. Same thing goes with these financial professional websites. It takes 50 milliseconds for them to make an impression. So are these websites capturing their attention? Is it something that has been updated on a regular basis? There's a lot that goes into a website, and a lot of times we might have one, but maybe we haven't even thought about in the last 2, 3, 5 years. Maybe we got one 10 years ago, and maybe it's time for an upgrade.
We see it all the time, right? If the last blog post is from 2013, that probably hasn't been updated in quite some time, right? There's this concept of the 5-second test, right? And at least one of the stories that I was told years ago by an advisor is there's two really core important points after meeting with a prospect. There's that first 15 minutes after their meeting and that first 24 hours after the meeting with a prospect. And typically that conversation goes, if you're talking with a couple, they're going to walk out of the office, shake hands, say, thanks for meeting. Your staff's going to wave goodbye. They're going to sit down back in that car and they're going to look at each other and they're simply going to say, what do you think? Right? What do you think about today? How does the website and specifically that 5-second test play into that?
Oh my God. That's the first thing they do. They go to Google and they're going to look you up, and they want to make sure that your website's popping up, which we'll touch on here in a little bit. And they want to make sure that you have a great digital footprint, that you are present and relevant online. So what is this 5-second test? Within 5 seconds, your homepage should be able to communicate the next couple things on this next slide. And I encourage everyone on this call to do this 5-second test. Send your website to a spouse, a colleague, your uncle, right, a good friend, and say, hey, when you go to my website, does it answer these questions for you? So we want, show them your website, send them your website, and they should be able to figure out, what is your page about? What do they remember seeing? So does it have a really nice graphic? Is it captivating? Is it catching their attention? Does it speak to the target audience? How can they benefit from your services you provide? And what action can they take next? I think the action is really, really important, because when we're thinking about our CRM, when we're thinking about getting more contacts into Wealthbox, we want to make sure we are capturing these leads that come to our website. So use this. I encourage you guys to do this at some point today. I'll even let you do it right now during this webinar, but send it to someone and say, okay, what's this page about? Who does it speak to? What problems and solutions, what problems does our target audience have, and what solutions can we provide them? And so how can we fix this, right? This is a quick checklist for you, but making sure that you have a great navigation, making sure you have a book an appointment, and fees page, if that's applicable to you, and then making sure your about section is up to date. Are your headshots up to date? Maybe you haven't done your headshot in the last 5 to 10 years. Maybe it's time for a revamp, your beautiful glamour shot. But all of these pieces really play into your credibility and the opportunity to make a really great first impact.
It's not just that first impact either, is it? You mentioned that about me section. I've seen firms that do a great job of having information on their support staff, their operations staff, that next contact when that team member is reaching out. Just a little bit more knowledge makes that next contact even more meaningful there. So with that in mind, how do you actually take these ideas after that first interaction or maybe the second interaction and take that to the floor, if you will? And oftentimes that's going to come from content marketing, right? And getting the right stories in front of people at the right time. What are you seeing with the FMG team right now from a content marketing standpoint that's working?
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, this is still a relationship-based business. So we've known that to be true. That is something that has withstood the test of time when it in this industry. And so how do we continue to build that relationship, whether they've now booked an appointment or maybe they've signed up for a newsletter on your website, or maybe we're continuing to take care of the current clients we already have. And that all starts with content marketing. So whether we're talking to prospects or whether we're wrapping our arms around our current clients and making sure that they feel really well taken care of, it starts with content. So we need to prioritize timely content. So responding when world events happen, when there's something happening in the market, they want to know from you because you are their financial bellwether. They're the person they trust with their financial decisions, with their livelihood. They want to hear it from you. So it's important that you're sharing what's going on in this wild world we're living in, and that you're sharing it first and foremost. And a couple ways that you can do this, right? Email, social. Another way that we can showcase our credibility and be able to answer questions regarding the services we provide is an advisor blog. Blogging is a great way to, again, answer questions. So if you have a target audience of business owners or retirees, right, in your blog, you can start to answer questions. This is important, one, to showcase content, but also helps with search engine optimization. And it's important when we're thinking about our content, we really want to highlight who our audience is. We want to make sure that the content we're providing matches our audience. I don't want to be sharing content for millennials if my primary audience is retirees, right? So as we're going through this presentation, make sure that you're also thinking about who your audience is. Can you clearly define your persona of who your perfect client is or who you want to be working with, and making sure that our content and the types of content match your audience?
You made an interesting point earlier, and I think, it's not just demographics, it's not just qualitatively, segmenting your clientele. It's also working with your existing clients, right? And we hear all the time that advisors want to deepen relationships, not only from a planning standpoint, but to open up new business opportunities as well. So content marketing isn't just for the prospect side of things. It can also definitely be for existing clients. One of the best ways to think about this is, what content is your current client going to take and share with a friend, right? Share with a family member. What is going to hit home enough that they're going to hit that share button and pass that on via email, text to the next person? And as we're starting to think about that and broadening the message and getting it to the right people, when we've got advisors who've been in this industry 10, 20, 30 years, they've seen a lot of changes from a marketing standpoint, but probably one of the biggest changes, especially over the last 10 to 15 years, has been utilizing social media and getting that messaging out via various different ways. What is the FMG team seeing right now from a social media standpoint, and how are firms getting social?
Yeah, the social is, I feel like they keep moving the cheese on us. And that's why it's important to be able to communicate what's going on and where we think the puck is heading. So social, what we're seeing now are trends of video. Video is a really great way to showcase yourself on social, and especially those quick snippets. So think about those Facebook reels and whatnot. Of course, we want to make sure everything's compliant, always important. But that is a really big item we're seeing. We're also seeing long formatted posts. So if you go to LinkedIn, you'll start to see some of these long formatted posts. And the reason being is the internet is now using social posts, and they're incorporating those into their search engine optimization. So they're able to pull that information. And we want to create, these long posts are also called zero-click content. They want to be able to go to your social post, and they don't want to click to go somewhere else. They want to be able to grab all those key points just with clicking in your post. So those long formatted posts are performing very, very well. And again, when we're thinking about social, think about your audience. It's one thing just to share a Forbes article and click share without adding commentary, but it is so important to create dialogue and to create conversation, and in order to build relationships on social. So making sure that we are adding thought-provoking commentary and that we're encouraging people to leave comments or to start a conversation. These are really important pieces as far as doing well with an algorithm, which we could talk for hours on. But just importance overall is just to have, I'm not saying you have to be creating videos every single day and posting 2-3 times a day and all that, but at least being relevant and being able to showcase who you are and services you provide and making yourself stand out.
And the other thing that we hear quite a bit is the ability to repurpose content, right? So the ability to not only create that long form content, but then on the back end, use different avenues, perhaps use other platforms to take snippets, to take a, half of a more long form discussion, and then repurpose that and use that over the course of time. And with that idea, and the idea of not only building content, but then being able to use it in different forms, email marketing is huge. And I think most advisors are aware of email marketing, but they may not be aware of what's new and what can be done today that may not have been there just a couple of years ago.
Okay, so one of the most interesting things we have seen, and this is really post-pandemic, but the number one reason people leave their financial professional is because they feel as though they are not being communicated to on a regular basis. And so one of the easiest ways to fix that is through email marketing. And all the important reasons, right? It's building that relationship. But with email marketing, this is the easiest way for you to stay top of mind and to reach them when they're least thinking about it, right? When they're just scrolling through their email in the morning and you share a timely email and they go, wow, I forgot that I really need to get my 529 set up. And Andrew happened to email me this morning. He is now top of mind. Traditionally, in the past, it took 3 to 4 touches for someone to remember, now to act. We live in this world now of consistent and constant information. And so it now takes many more touches in order for them to remember, more importantly, to act on that message. So being able to create a consistent email marketing strategy is so important to be taking care of our current clients, of course, taking care of prospective clients. And there's a couple of things that we can think about, right? We want to make sure these emails are timely. We want to make sure the message is matching the audience, but also there's some things we can do as far as creating really compelling subject lines, right? That's one of the biggest things that encourage people. We know that if you share in brackets video and then the rest of your subject line, it's going to get higher open rates than if you didn't share that. And so I like to use a tool called subjectline.com, and I like to test my subject lines. It's complimentary. You type in your subject line and it will give you opportunities for either improving it or say it's great. So just a fun little fact there, just to improve your email and open rates. And it's important to use information and data, click-through rates and all that to help inform our decision making and think about continuously moving the needle to improve our marketing.
It's really interesting. I know every Thursday morning I'm going to get a specific email from one of the advisors that I've known for quite some time. Thursday morning, I know what's happening every time. It's going to be a little bit different. Not everyone is one that's going to grab my attention, but I know that it's going to be there. So there's 2 real big takeaways here from working with firms for years. First is consistency, and part of that is going to be, having a calendar. And that's one of the things that FMG can help with, is that pre-built calendar, having that consistency, knowing what that next quarter is going to look like from an email marketing standpoint. The second point, and we'll circle back on this in a little bit, is building out those KPIs and understanding what's working, what's not. Some of you may know this as A/B testing, right? And looking at what some of the differentiators are. Now, back to that idea of optimizing. This 5th idea, SEO. I think a lot of people have heard of this in the past, but what does search engine optimization really mean for advisors, and how does it make them better? What is actually engaging here in SEO and working with a team like FMG? How does that help them long term?
Yeah, search engine optimization. So if you go to Google and you type in financial advisor near me, it is just that, how you rank within your search engine, whether it's Google or Bing or anything like that. Google, we're going to talk about that just because that's the largest. But how do we continue to rank higher? And so it's including relevant keywords within your content. So financial advisor, and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. So I might sprinkle throughout my blogs, throughout my social posts, throughout my my website. I'm going to sprinkle in these top keywords that I know people are searching for. And what's important is because, again, the story that Andrew, that you told right before we got started was, hey, I just met with my financial advisor. I look over at my husband. We're wondering, who is this person? Do we like them? What all can they do for us? We're going to go to the webs. We're going to go to Google. We're going to search them, and we want to make sure that they're popping up pretty high. So platforms like FMG, they have opportunities to optimize for search engine optimization, great tools to help with that, as well as a lot of resources to learn about how you can start to rank higher and all of that. So little test for you, go to Google right now, type in your name and see where you are.
That it may be eye-opening for some folks, but to your point, there are ways to help improve that longer term. Now, I want to make a bit of a shift here. We're going to walk through specifically how Wealthbox and FMG work together from a marketing standpoint. And I want to use a couple simple examples here. For those of you that haven't seen Wealthbox, I am logged in as advisor Brad Creedon here with ABC Financial. Incredibly easy to use. Adding a new note takes just 2 clicks, and we also have the ability to have transcription available here. But I want to hop over directly into our contacts page here. And as I do so, the first thing that comes to mind is the core contact data. Now, we're talking about what I call KYC data, know your client data. So things like address, dates of birth, names, right? All of those basics. Now, the beauty of using Wealthbox, and for those of you that are using another CRM, our team can migrate your data over, including all of that KYC data, but also including some of that more qualitative data. And this is where we're going to focus on today with tags on the right side of the page. For those of you that are looking for an actionable takeaway today from today's call, no matter what CRM you're using, but especially as you're using Wealthbox, I want to encourage all of you to look at utilizing tags. And I'm going to give you a couple areas to think about. I use that word qualitative, but as we're talking about that, let's think about things like client segmentation. Some folks have A, B, C, gold, silver, bronze. Also, what are their recreation, right? So whether they're tennis players, whether they're golfers, we're going to hop back to that in a moment. Also, if these are folks that have joined you at an event, perhaps a seminar, perhaps a networking event, you can create tags for all of these and track them within your system. So not only, again, once we have that sync set up between Wealthbox and FMG, you can use all of that core KYC data, the names, the ages, the states that they live in. Let's say, a new tax law comes out in the state of Florida. You want to walk through that and find out who you work with that has an address in Florida. You can utilize that. But more so for today's discussion, as I pass it over to you, Elise, let's start thinking about some of those tags and how we can use them. Client segmentation, how they met you. Do they have any interests like a specific pro football or basketball team, or if they're golfers? So let's expand on that a little bit, Elise, that idea of that golf tag and how we could use that with FMG.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and share my screen here in a second, but I always say an organized contact list is a happy contact list because this information gives us so much to work with. This allows for us to get the right message to the right people. And when I was an advisor, I had mine organized very similar to this. And it's like, okay, I had it done geographically because I live in Texas. So I had my Austin clients, my Dallas clients, my Houston clients. But then I had my golfers, my wine lovers. So if I was hosting a wine tasting, it was really easy for me to share with exactly that group. Now let's pretend. So we have actually synced our Wealthbox account with our FMG account. And so you're going to see some similarities here, which is really neat. But let's say I'm hosting a golf tournament and I would love to send something to my golf client. So when you log in, this is your dashboard. With FMG, we have websites, we have marketing tools. They can work individually or together. But let's say I'm hosting a golf event and I would like to invite the tagged golf group that I've created in Wealthbox. Here is my event. I can come and look at it. We create events very easily within the system. And I've created this event where I can now capture registrations. I've created a really great landing page that's very easy. And I have a captivating headline and all of this. And if someone registers for this, I'm collecting this information within the dashboard as well. So I can have people register for my golf event. But one of the things that people normally shy away from when it comes to events is they're like, man, I want to create an event, but it is a ton of work in order to promote that event. And so utilizing something like FMG, they're able to easily share this event, and they're easily able to promote this event. So just with the click of the button, I can create a 3 email series, and it's done all for you. And you can edit this or send as is. Of course, we've built in compliance workflow as well. So if I want to send out a email drip sequence to promote my event, I can easily do so. And I can schedule this sequence to send out. So this is my first email reminder, encouraging them to RSVP. It's going to wait 7 days. My second email will go out. It's going to wait. And then my third reminder telling them to, of course, RSVP for this event, this great event that's coming up. Now I can schedule this sequence out, and I can select my audience. So this is where those tagged groups are coming over from Wealthbox. So I can either send, of course, to all of my contacts that have come over from Wealthbox, or I can do a specific group. So I'm going to send this one specifically to my clients who love golf that we have created in Wealthbox, and hit send. And then I can just select my date, and that can be sent. And now I am automatically sending out those emails with just a couple clicks of a button, assuming it's all approved. And what's really neat is, let's say someone registered. I'm getting a notification saying that congrats, this person has registered. And if they're a new client, I can, so here it is, it's saying this event registration, someone signed up, and I can view this person as a contact. What's neat here is I can put in any other information I might have about them, and I can assign them a group. They sign up for my golf tournament, so I'm going to select that they love golf, and maybe that they're a prospect. What's really neat about this integration, it is two-way. So it is bi-directional, meaning when I make this edit here, this will also be reflected in the Wealthbox side, which is really amazing. In the past, I know we've all done it the old-fashioned way, where we used to have to log it in 2 different places, or put it in a spreadsheet and upload it and download it and upload it again. And so now it's a little bit different.
You're eliminating that swivel chair effect that I think everyone wants to take out of their practice, right? Moving from one side to another to get that done. So again, with that two-way sync with Wealthbox, you can take things like those tags, as well as that core demographic or KYC data, have that flow over. Now, with that, all that being said, we do have a couple questions coming in. Before we dive into those questions, I know a few of the questions have really surrounded, okay, what are some of the different ways that I can work with FMG, and what does that look like? And, you know, the first thing that I've pulled up here is a lot of advisors and firms say, you know what, Elise, I need help on all of this, right? You know, help me soup to nuts. I need everything that we're looking at here. Can you talk a little bit about the different programs that you have available, and specifically the Do It For Me program as well?
Absolutely. So we have a number of different packages to meet your needs based on wherever you are. So whether you're just getting started in the business or you've been rocking and rolling for years, there's different packages based on what your marketing goals are, whether you just need a website or you need just marketing tools or you need both. When I was a financial advisor, if I had $1 for every single time I said, man, I just need someone to do it for me, I would have a lot of dollars. And so we created just that. It is a program where you work alongside one of our amazing marketing strategists, and they help you execute. So they help you run quarterly events, they help create a customized marketing plan, and they execute on your behalf. The content is written specifically by our CMO, Susan Theater, and our Chief Evangelist, Samantha Russell, 2 amazing thought leaders in the industry. And the content is personalized, and it's really as if your clients want to hear. It's not filled with financial jargon and all of that. So it's just that, someone to do it for me. It's cheaper than hiring an assistant or a marketing director, and a great add-on to probably all the great work that you guys are already doing.
Makes a ton of sense. All right, so into a couple questions that we've got from the audience here. We've got a question regarding kind of amplifying some of the things that are being done on social, right? So let's say a firm's got a social page. They may not be able to send out the invite, an invite directly to it for compliance reasons. What are some of the things, and I think we spoke a little bit to the consistency of marketing and putting out content, but what are some of the ways that FMG is seeing firms kind of amplify that voice with some of the social profiles out there, like Facebook?
Yeah. So, some people are like, man, how do I encourage people to get more likes or more followers? And a really great way that we've seen is creating an email or even an email template and making this part of your onboarding process. So when you're onboarding a new client, you're
Mhm.
sending them an email saying, hey, we are so excited to work with you. Make sure to follow us on some of these great social pages to stay on top of all the great work we're doing, or see what we're doing in the community or something like that. So that's a great way. Another way to continue to grow your contact list, right? How can we get more names in Wealthbox? That's a goal, is coming alongside other centers of influence
Yep.
and doing a webinar with them, asking them to come and contribute to one of your blogs, asking them to contribute to an email series you're doing, and getting them to also promote that event. So utilizing COIs, right? Our estate planning attorneys, our CPAs. It doesn't even have to be someone industry specific. It can be bringing on a sommelier and doing a event wine tasting and encouraging them to also send. So that's something we hear all the time is, okay, that's great, but I'm really trying to build my contact list. We'll come alongside some of these COIs and have them also promote, which is a great way to turn one client into two clients very easily.
And one of my favorites, I know we're getting pretty close to tax time, so we'll jump over that idea, but I know an advisor who has gone to one of their local colleges, gotten someone who works in the admissions department. Juniors are typically starting to take a look at college choices, and over the summer, they'll actually have an admissions counselor hop on for a conversation talking about that, right? Great way to amplify your voice, typically using a local network that's already there, and again, a simple way to do so. There's a question here and a couple questions. How do you all get this all in a spot where it's compliant? And more specifically, how do you all compile the content that's available to the advisors? Can you speak a little bit to that process and how you all work with broker dealers and in general compliance teams to make sure that the content that you're putting together is good to go and good to use?
Yeah, so majority of the content within our content library is already approved. It's FINRA approved. We do the vetting on our side initially when we're creating the content, but also we have a built-in compliance workflow. So we aligned ourselves with a number of broker dealers. If we haven't aligned ourselves, we'd love the opportunity to work with you. But we have that compliance section where you can see within our compliance dashboard what you've submitted to compliance and if it's been approved or not approved. And if maybe it hasn't been approved, compliance has the option to write a note there saying like, hey, you accidentally used the word free. We need to say complimentary, or, all those normal rules. But we have a built-in compliance workflow to make it really, really easy. Again, compliance is something we've all done marketing and compliance old-fashioned way. And
Yep.
this is now just a couple clicks to make it really easy.
Yeah, it's definitely something on folks' minds. I would encourage everyone to take a look at some of the content library and what's available with FMG. I think you'll be surprised. We've talked about calendars. There's something for all 12 months within there that can make sense for firms. As we button things up, wanted to give everyone a chance. Those of you that are interested in taking a look at Wealthbox, specifically, again, the hub, the central nervous system of your practice. It's going to be where a lot of that data lives and breathes that can then power FMG and the marketing efforts there. For those of you that are interested, we have QR codes for both of our teams here. Wealthbox, if you have questions, you can hop on our website, email us at sales@wealthbox.com. Elise, what's the best way to get in touch with the FMG team should anyone have any questions or maybe want to dive a little bit deeper into what some of that functionality offers?
Absolutely. We have a QR code right here, so you can scan that, but also you can reach out to us at marketing@fmgsuite.com. And we're always standing by to help. And I was thinking, Andrew, maybe with like a minute left or whatever, we can dive into the actual integration. Where can they go within FMG to integrate with Wealthbox?
Yeah, Fantastic. If you want to pull that up, I will also, while you do so, I will show our integration page. For those of you that haven't been on Wealthbox's website, right on wealthbox.com, you can go to integrations. Among our almost 130 different integrations, you'll find FMG. You'll see a recording of today's webinar. You'll also see screenshots in terms of how to set up that synchronization and a help center article helping you set up. Elise, would you like to show on FMG end what that looks like?
All right, let's do it. So if you are in the platform, you come down to contacts and you come down to manage contacts, and you simply come to sync Wealthbox, where then it will prompt you to put in your username and password, and voila, that's where the magic happens.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Again, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to the Wealthbox or the FMG team. Elise, thank you as always. Have a fantastic afternoon, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.